Hi all and welcome to another week of the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. Tonight is March the 2nd. You can stick your world order up your arm. Hi all, I break to the normal 2-song music that we normally have. It's been a sad week for all at THI and Cosmic Voice, with the passing of Rodney DeLoach. Rodney was a popular member who enhanced the page with his own brand of wisdom, knowledge and wit, the latter being the most prominent. Now, wit and laughter are generally the last things sometimes want in the darkest and saddest times following the loss of a friend, family or a loved one. But it would be the way Rodney would like us to be. Remember him for his wit. Now, people often struggle for words and platitudes at this time, as it often reminds them themselves of the time that when they lost loved ones too. It's difficult. It's also often the case in these times, and many of you will be going through it now or in the future, where we become selfish, where our own desires to keep the people we love living at all costs goes over the needs really of the person who is suffering. It kind of gets overlooked. Now, Rodney was suffering. His life force had ebbed away following the initial incident. What took place this week was the best for Rodney. Not for us, or Kathy, or his family, but it was better for Rodney. He now has a safe passage onto the next stage of his life and soul growth, free of pain, free of trauma, free of worry, and we wish him well. But Rodney would not want us to be more than him at this time, but celebrating his life and input into our group. Death is not the end, it's just a new beginning. Heartfelt condolences go out to Kathy, his family and all his friends from the Truth, Honour and Integrity group. Rodney Loach, gone but not forgotten. And tonight's show will be dedicated to Rodney DeLoach. Gone too soon, indeed. So that was our tribute from THI to Rodney DeLoach. Very sad. Right. It's difficult. We need to honour Rodney in the best way we can, by being stronger for each other. Kathy needs help. Be her support. At the end of the day, we can all argue about Cabal doing this and Cabal doing that, and he take this off us and he take that off us. What he can't take off us is caring and sharing, or being a support for each other. They can't take that away. So, where do we go? Tonight's show is gonna rock many. The intel is long, deep, exciting, worrying and explosive. I don't think I will get to it in the first hour, there's some extraordinary things going on currently. I need to say get well soon to Sloinas Troj, that's the name on the page, Carla Garrett, and condolences to Janet Elliott over the loss of her cat. And no, I won't make any witty comments. No, some like that. And so it's been a kind of sad, in many aspects, start to the show. Let's lift it a bit. Happy birthday to Guy Boyd. And away we go. Right, we'll do the usual. I'm going to cover some news items, and then I've got a bit of an op-ed piece on a particular item that will wake a few up, and we'll have a bit of laugh along the way. Right, where do we start? IMF. Former boss of the IMF this week has been jailed. They don't get away with it anymore for embezzling millions of pounds from banks he ran, including one which he had to later be bailed out by the taxpayer. Rodrigo Rato, sometimes the name fits, doesn't it, was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison after being found guilty of using undeclared corporate credit cards to fund a lavish lifestyle as his banks ran into the red. Mr. Rato was among 65 former bankers convicted of making undeclared card purchases to the tune of 10.1 million from the Spanish banks Caja, Madrid and later Bankia. Between 2003 and 2012, Bankia nearly collapsed and was only rescued by a huge public bailout. In 2012, Bankia posted profits of 328 million euros, only to revise that figure 2 weeks later to a loss of 4.3 billion. A year later, that loss was adjusted to its real figure of 19 billion euros, the biggest single financial loss in Spanish economic history. So a 328 million euro profit was reduced to the real figure of 19 billion euro debt. And not the only one. President Trump took to Twitter on Saturday morning to claim the media ignored some good news about his current administration. The media has not reported that the national debt in my first month went down by 12 billion versus a 200 billion increase in Obama's first month. In a follow-up tweet he added, "Great optimism for the future of American business and jobs, with the Dow having 11th straight record close and big tax and regulation cuts are coming. That's going to help the economy." Now this, to many of us, next news item will seem the height of hypocrisy, given the news that's gone right through the internet over many years about the crimes and the lives of the people operating in the Catholic Church, particularly the Vatican. Maybe this is another sign things are changing. Pope Francis admonished greedy Christians who profess faith but don't live it out in their dealings with others in a sermon last Thursday morning, Speaking to those who say they are very Catholic because they go to Mass and belong to Catholic organisations, the Pope said some professing Catholics should say instead, "My life is not Christian. I don't pay my employees proper salaries. I exploit people. I do dirty business. I launder money. I lead a double life." He went on and even suggested that it would be better to be an atheist than to be a hypocritical in living out Catholic beliefs. It is a scandal to say one thing and do another. That is a double life, he said. The head of the Roman Catholic Church has often encouraged members to live down-to-earth lives and cardinals not to act like princes. He often himself has declined expensive travel and apparel himself. In other impromptu sermons, the Pope has suggested atheists who do good are offered God's grace just as all people are, and has condemned as a satanic mass the sexual abuse of children by priests. He spoke about hypocrisy in the church, saying that Christians who talk about the faith but don't help others are fake. Funny how that name keeps coming up, or that word. The Catholic Catechisms speaks of scandal as saying one thing and doing something different, or as leading someone else to do wrong. The Church says people who encourage others to do wrong, even indirectly, are responsible for any evil that results. I hope that's down to the Sea of Change. Rumours are he is now helping. Comments like that enhance that, as long as it's valid and not just pushing the blame onto somebody else. Time will tell. One of the world's leading political scientists, you'll have a laugh at this, believes Donald Trump only won the US presidential election for a very simple reason. His name came first on the ballot in some critical swing states. John Krosnick has spent 30 years studying how voters choose one candidate rather than another. What a waste of a life that is. And says that at least 2 US presidents won their elections was their names were listed first on the ballot in states where the margin of victory was narrow. So basically, what they're saying is here, you used our methods against us, and they've spit the dummies out, and they're not playing ball anymore. You know, 30 years studying how voters choose one candidate rather than another. My word, that man has to get a life. Social Security has paid $1 billion out in benefits to individuals who did not even have a Social Security number, according to a new audit. Seems to be a lot of these audits exposing certain fraud, is there not? Is that also not evidence of a sea of change? So $1 billion was paid out to individuals who don't have a Social Security number. Oh, the irony, since we just had a president for 8 years who didn't have a valid Social Security number either. But nevertheless, the agency Inspector General found errors in the government's documentation for representative payees, otherwise known as individuals who receive retirement or disability payments on behalf of another person who is incapable of managing the benefits themselves. Over the last decade, the agency paid out $1 billion to 22,426 representative payees who did not have a Social Security number, and the SSA had not followed its policy to retain the paper application. I'm not hearing about anyone being fired for it, but maybe those 22,000 would suggest that's a rather low number. I think there's a lot more are all connected. In other words, organised crime, and we all know who operates that best on this soil. Furthermore, unless it takes corrective action, we estimate the Social Security Administration will pay out $182.5 million in benefits annually to representative payees who do not have a Social Security number or paper application, I'll put my teeth back in, supporting their selection. The inspector also found the agency paid $853.1 million in benefits since 2004 to individuals who had been terminated as representative payees by the agency. And you wonder where all the money's going. Of course, no doubt they'll blame refugees and Muslims for that. But he thinks it's like collar crime. Anyway, where are we next? The worrying scene on the US retail market. The number ranked at the most distressed levels of the credit rating spectrum has more than tripled since the Great Recession, as they're now calling it, of 2008-2009, and is heading towards record levels in the next 5 years. The rating agency is the latest to weigh in on the state of this particular sector and has 19 names in its retail and apparel portfolio, 14% of which are now trading at CAA/CA. That's deep into speculative or junk territory. So the credit rating's going down the pan. It's also a percentage closer to 60% considered distressed during the 2008-2009 period, a Moody report led by retail analyst Charles O'Shea. This rise is part of a wider trend affecting sectors right across Moody's coverage that has retail replacing oil and gas as the most troubled industry. Retailers currently are in the midst of a secular shift to online sales led by Amazon, and they forecast that malls are likely to become ghost towns in the near future as more consumers shift to online alternatives. On Friday, JCPenney told investors that it would close between 130 and 140 of its stores over the next few months and shutter 2 distribution centres, the latest retailer facing closures as consumers switch to online shopping centres. But JCPenney went on to say it could save them millions a year by closing the stores. So that's JCPenney, along with Sears and many of the others who are struggling. Long term, that may not be a bad thing. Long term, there's far too much consumerism and not enough money to fund it, and this is what leads us all into the debt cycle. France next. The European Parliament has lifted French far-right, whatever that means, leader Marine Le Pen immunity from prosecution after she tweeted pictures of so-called Islamic State violence. Ms Le Pen is under investigation in France for posting 3 graphic images of his killings in 2015, including the beheading of US journalist James Foley. Her position as an MEP has so far meant she could not be prosecuted. Ms Le Pen is currently running to be the French president. However, the vote only lifts her immunity in this particular case and will not cover a separate investigation to whether the FN, which is, I'm trying to remember what that is, misused European parliamentary funds. Ms Le Pen has refused to attend a police interview over the latter allegations. She denies wrongdoing and claims that they are a plot to derail her campaign. Yes, it is. Of course, we covered recently about the CIA being involved in the 2012 French elections. This is the same thing again. Interference, digging up, raking up muck. You know, each and every politician, I don't care who they are, has got muddy shoes, skeletons in the closet. And this is where they hold files on everyone so they can bribe and blackmail. And there's very few who haven't got something on them, and this is where they get roped into doing things that they would rather not do. But that's that episode smacks of more CIA agency fun and games. This will be the final portion of the news, and I'm going to do an op-ed piece after that relating to this, because I think it's time we really started considering how we act ourselves. Now, I'm going to read this piece out. I'm not going to say who did it, but there will be at the end. But it's another classic case of outright hypocrisy on a massive scale. Quote, "No longer is this first a criminal justice issue. Rather, it is a public health and awareness issue, and is widely beginning to be acknowledged as such. It is also a model issue. We know now that naloxone," yeah, that's right, I think, naloxone has the chance to save thousands of lives. The next question is, what role can naloxone play in saving lives around the world? We hope the Clinton Foundation's early work in changing markets and distribution systems around HIV/AIDS medicines may provide a model, and we know we need new partners in the mental health systems and education spaces, amongst others, to help shape any future global opioid addiction work. And of course, we need research to inform potential global work, as it has in the US. There is always more data to be collected, more assumptions to be challenged, more stories to be inspired by. No one should die of an opioid overdose in 2017 in America or anywhere. As in all areas where we know how to prevent such deaths, we have an obligation to save lives and work towards zero. Chelsea Clinton, Vice Chairman of the Clinton Foundation, spoke that this week. Yes, she, spawn of Satan. My message to her is, do us a favour, Chelsea, and shut your pie hole. Your sellout family has contributed more than enough damage to not only this country but to people all around the world, without adding your short bus style drivel. Just quit it. In the United States, opioid addiction has become an epidemic. According to national health organizations, the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that 91 Americans die per day from opioid dependence, totaling 33,000 deaths when it was last recorded in 2015. more than any year on record. I would suggest last year was worse. In fact, such drugs now kill more Americans than guns or car accidents. Opioids are synthetic drugs. I said that, highlighted that for a reason, that mimics the effect of the opium from poppy plants. Since ancient times, opium has yielded pleasure and deadened pain in humans, interacting with the nervous system and nerve cells in the brain, a bit like the chip. But that also what makes it addictive. Today, opioids take the form of prescription painkillers and illicit substances like heroin. Sales of prescription opioids quadrupled in the US from 1999 to 2010, according to the bogus World Health Organization. That's a misnomer in itself. 15 million people worldwide suffer from addiction to opium-derived drugs, and each year they kill 69,000 people. So that's the background. What can we do? Well, we can do quite a lot. We already are aware now that most of our diseases are created by rogue elements operating under rogue government services, with a new phenomena of creating other disease like ADHD. There are others, and it's all under the banner of Big Pharma promoting and selling drugs. Now, we've already been told by the chief executive of one of the biggest drug companies that 90% of drugs that they sell do not work on 60% of the people. We've all been told that. So why is it that so many people in America have medicine cabinets that resemble a small corner pharma shop? Why are we taking this shit? A couple of years ago, I was helping a mostly blind couple. She was 95% blind, and I think he was about 70%. So I used to go around and help them out a bit. And I watched him take roughly 40 tablets a day. At great cost financially. But the damage it's doing internally is far greater. I tried to get him to reduce or go alternative, but the mind control in this country runs very deep. Americans are programmed to have drugs. Walgreens and CVS have advert boards outside offering money off your shopping bill if you take the flu vaccine. And people sign up for it just to get a few dollars off their bill. That to me is the height of stupidity. But from my perspective, I've got a critical thinking mind. I always have had. That's why I always got into trouble when I was young. I didn't follow. So it's easy for me to say that and see it for what it is. Back in the UK, doctors are paid £20, about $25 for every flu jab. That to me is a bribery. What does that tell you? Do we the people not see that as suspicious? That a doctor will be paid extra money on top of or at quite considerable salaries since they all went private. They're making huge amounts. So do people in this day and age seriously think that the pharma companies, World Health Organization, hospitals or doctors care for your health? Well, do they? Clearly they don't. It's bollocks. And it's high time that we took personal responsibility for ourselves and the people around that you care for. Spend some time researching alternative ways of treating the said or alleged illnesses. Not all of them are valid. And I say alleged as I want people to consider something else that came to me recently. Given illness is a frequency, could it not be a frequency that creates it? Think about that. Mind control frequencies generating an illness or applying the symptoms of an illness or disease, which then leads you to spend lots of your labour and value on a profession specifically created for only one reason: to generate income. Now, some people may think, but Thomas, I know lots of nice nurses and lots of nice doctors, and I would agree with you. But where is their personal responsibility to the patients? And they're handing out meds like it's some sort of candy store. If they spent half as much time researching what they're giving to people as they do locking up and protecting the medicine cabinet, then we may get sufficient people to change their ways and their habits. So yes, they are just as responsible as the pharma people. The ridiculous adverts on the TV. We all listen to the list of the side effects. And most of the side effects are worse than the illness. But come and take our pill. Like the IBS tablet, supposedly to rid you of stomach pain and bowel issues. But it has side effects including vomiting, diarrhea and abdominal pain. You can't make this shit up. So the tablet that's supposed to fix you resembles the symptoms of what you started off to begin with. Surely we have more intelligence than this, and accepting their bullshit. In essence, these people are literally taking the piss out of all of us. Only with the adverts, it's right in your face. We need to think. Question, and see through the illusion and act differently. We can't carry on with this blind ignorance. Now, I know some people won't like hearing that, and I understand that, but it's the truth. Ignorance is a choice. With the advent of the internet, you can be educated on anything with just a few hours research. Blindly doing something just because others tell you to do it or take it is sheep behaviour and programming. So when people say to me, we're not responsible for the ills of the world, well, technically we're not. But every single day, through ignorance, lazy-mindedness, All each person has to do is look deeper at and into every aspect of their lives and question everything. Parents, and we've all gone through this, don't be telling your children to shut up because they ask too many questions. The kids who ask questions are the future rebels, the freedom movement people. They are deliberately hampered at school because they question for themselves. Critical thinking. So as a parent, you have an obligation. School and teachers follow a program of control, obedience and hive mind mentality. Be different. Abortion, that issue raised much deeper trauma this week after we covered it last week. I was asked to do it. It was left out of the original. So people were given an opportunity. If they didn't want to listen, they were given a warning on the show. But sometimes people can't resist. Now, it caused a deeper trauma than the individuals themselves wanted, and I understand that. Being an empath, I feel it. But see it as an opportunity to learn more, not as another way to feel sadness or sorrow or guilt, whichever one you particularly feel. It means you have to do more inner work. The trauma has been pulled out of your inner self. Keep pulling. The more trauma layers that you pull out, forgive yourself and let go, the better your life will be in total. Now, many have said, yeah, I've done my inner work and I've dealt with my shadow sides. But have they dealt with the surface stuff or the deeper layers? Only they will know that. The deeper layers are the more hurtful trauma. They're harder to get rid of. They're also easier to stick onto extra bits that adds to the original layer. Once they're cleared, that baggage is gone. Be less problem for the vessel and a much lighter load for the soul. Now, the other thing that's come up this week is I think we're all getting to a point where we feel it's time we, the people, controlled ourselves. As more and more of their stupidity and the way they go about things, some of which will come up in the second hour, the realization is their controls and systems have messed things up on this planet due to their own egos and stupidity. Quite frankly, we need an end to this hierarchical system. Now, some people will say we should wipe them all out. Some people will sit on the fence, and some people will look at solutions that provides the best way forward. How about they become overview guardians of this planet and overview oversee its restoration. These people have most of the pieces of the puzzle here. Not all, but more than we have. And they've all played along and playing their false god games. They failed the people. And it's time for us, the people, to create a better world without their interference. But they can be a guidance. Maybe something to consider. Feel free to disagree. That's your choice. But it's something to think about. They do have a lot of the knowledge that could be pushed forward a lot quicker than us going deeper and researching and trying to pull rabbits out the hole, so to speak. So it's something I thought about this week, and maybe that's a solution going forward. Who knows? One of the things that's come up on the page this week is there's a couple of posts saying that they don't follow me or believe everything I say. You know what? That makes me happy. Because you should follow no one, but go where yourself takes you. I see my role as guiding people to a better path, towards and onto their own journey of discovery. It's not my path, and it's not my role to drag anyone along on the path to where I think we should be. That's going against free will. To where you feel you should be. Ultimately, everyone makes their own choices. Some are ready to go on that path, some need a gentle push, and some are just not ready. For the ones that are not ready, that must not be seen as a failure. There are no failures. Just points of reference where more learning or more experience is required. Self-empowerment, I can help with that, and I have done with this show. Personal responsibility, I can guide, but ultimately it's down to the individual, not me. Now, there are some who are struggling, haven't come so far, and there's a possibility, I feel, that it's due to fear. Many of us fear change. Often we don't like change. In essence, that's another program. We all want change, but the fear kicks in. Oh, what if I leave this job? And what if I don't like the next one? Or what if I leave this house and move to this town or this state or a different country? It's fear. And so we get stuck in marriages for far too long for fear that the other side may not be, the grass is greener. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. What we're doing with that fear is putting ourselves in a box where we are limiting our experiences in life. If you move to another job or you move house, that's an experience and a different learning curve. If it doesn't work out or it doesn't suit you, it's not a loss. So what some people are struggling with here at the moment, apart from the truth trauma, is we've relied for too long on government. in the future, if we are going to make it a better way, it means we, as in all of us, have to fix things. And that terrifies some people. I can sense it. It's almost like Stockholm Syndrome, where it's more comfortable to go back to the abuser than to step out and do for yourself. If you feel that you're one of these people, work on it. Overcome your fear. Fear is in the future. Unless you're a psychic and can see into the future, how can you have fear? Fear is something that's happening in the future. It's not now. It's the future. What if I move? That's the future. What if I change jobs? That's the future. But then if you could see into the future, you wouldn't be having that choice to make. You would know. So why have the fear? The reality is we cannot go back to the same system because it feels comfortable. This planet's going forward, and it's going forward quickly. And we have to go forward with it for the benefits of the all. I'm probably going to finish on this piece before I start the intel. The intel is going to take up most of the next hour. It's quite extensive. But I come across this piece I thought fits. Times in life when you really need to take stock. Just don't be in a hurry to know all the answers. It's too early for you, because in order to get answers, first of all you must know the correct questions, which have not matured in you yet. You have undertaken too heavy a weight. Be careful, you may overstrain yourself. The old lady calmly continued, and I understood that she meant my contacts with the dead. Not all people are worth it, dear. Some must pay for their acts. Otherwise they will begin to consider they deserve forgiveness for no reason whatsoever. Then the only thing your goodness will bring to them is harm. Remember, good always must be clever. Otherwise it's not good, but just an echo of your heart or desire, which may not necessarily coincide with the real essence of the person to whom you have given such a precious gift, life. Our life has been too easily frittered away by dissolving our own personal responsibility, by our own fears, by our own limitations. On hopes that what's been said in the first hour of this show, and given what we started off with, a loss of a special life, that each and every one of you takes it on board and realizes life is precious. Life is tough, but it's a learning. Life is about caring and sharing. And at the end of the day, my name is Human. Hi all, and welcome back to the second hour. Right, pin back your luggles. I think this is just about the longest amount of intel that we've ever done in the Cosmic Voice or THI. It gets better as it goes on. Bear with it. Right, you ready? Okay, there we go. The RV clowns. They're in Switzerland again this week, waiting for their non-existent payouts. Oops. Last time they were there was shootouts, remember? Some people get angry when they don't get paid out. Perhaps their anger should be projected back into themselves for their own idiocy. They've been told for 3 years that this RV's not paying out. Not the internet one anyway. So. Item number 2. The cabal are still trying to cause mayhem in America, and this week we're trying to blow up some of the dams. It failed. Yes, they were playing fun and games in the California one. As I understand it now, largely it prevented a bigger scale of damage. But until these people are really dealt with, those type of fun and games will continue. Yes, indeed, Holly. Our not so little friends at Langley. There's been a lot of meetings going on this week. I don't think I know some of the people who attend. I don't know how they do it. Listening to the levels of retardation that some of them possess, or maybe they're just not real. Maybe they're all synthetic. But some of the groups have now decided to come together. There are still others that are still chasing the old dream, the RV, the Fistful of Dinars crew. But things have improved in that building a lot better this week. It's still not 100%. I don't think we'll ever get 100% until they're removed. Now, some of the military industrial complex, MIC, I can now state that they've been following 2 unknown generals. So the people that listening to this show, you know who you are. Bear this in mind. Now these 2 are the ones left from the 5 original generals who took orders or take orders from the Rothschilds. These 2 are not American military generals. Why are they still here? Now, one of those 2 was caught last night transporting enriched uranium to the Antarctica. It was blocked by the Russians. Now, this type of stuff has been going on before. I'll give you some background of some of the things that's been going on since 2012. And this is the Nazi group. And the last time this particular group started this bullshit was in 2013ish time, and they were using Fukushima to enrich uranium and build dirty bombs. Remember, I kept telling you, Fukushima is not the issue. If it's such an issue, why are they in Fukushima pulling out uranium to build dirty bombs? So they're building these dirty bombs in urea plants worldwide. Now, urea is a highly flammable fertilizer. Those of you with short memories, remember the Texas plant that blew up a couple of years ago? Yeah. That was a test by them to see if it was enough to ignite enriched uranium. Shows you how much they care for American lives. And this is the reason why this fun and games is ongoing, is all the launch codes for the nuclear weapons is not under their control. By the end of 2012, every existing nuke on the planet was and still is under control. Now, the only way around this issue for them was the 4 that were left out of the Kursk, which was taken out by the military-industrial complex and then raided, and the 4 nukes were removed before the Russians could even get there. All those people on that submarine left, just interested in nukes. No surprise. Anyway, their goal is to try and build new ones with a launch system which does not run on electronics, but that sends a trigger and it will be blocked. Hence the urea detonators and bombs on site in a plan in 2014. Now, some people find some things hard to believe. This next thing boggles my mind. But believe it or not, the original launch codes were operated by the AI machine. You know, as I said, words fail me at the stupidity of that. And this is why this particular speaker doesn't trust any AI machine. Despite what they try to tell you with their bullshittery, that it becomes sentient, it's not. Life is life, and synthetic and pieces of metal is not life as we know it, Jim. I have to say that. Anyway, so the intel I've received states that the nukes that went off recently, Antarctica, was a cover to transport nuclear materials down to the Antarctica. Now, what's taken place there is a full-on Nazi base operational is being developed down there. So, like I warned, and people were asking me, was certain clowns on the internet are promoting all kinds of ET disclosure to do with Antarctica. Those people, whether they know it or not, yes, you Mr. Wilcock and you Corey Good, are working for the military industrial complex SS with a small p, Nazi organisation. Period. All famous people, John Glenn. These are all part of the Funny Handshake group. So, what I'm going to say now is there is stuff ongoing. We have people who can see without being there. I'm going to make a call tonight for all the light warriors to stand up and hit it and end it once and for all. You know who you are. You know who you are. The blockages of that region no longer exists. You can go through. Take the opportunity and wipe it out once and for all. And we will. 2 years ago, there was a warhead in the Philippines they were trying to send to North Korea. And you wonder why North Korea is classed as dangerous. A bit like Iran. The same clans give them the weapons. So that's how they know they've got certain material. Happened in Iraq. They gave it to Hussein, who then pushed it across the border into Iran because he didn't want it. And what they're trying to do is reassemble it, the spent warheads. That was the Nazi faction too. Now, some of you people are posted on the page about a certain Russian spy vessel that was going up and down the east coast. It's a good job it was there. Because there was an incident this week of a nuclear weapon going up the Connecticut River. Nuclear weapon, dirty bomb, being transported to that region with the specific attempt to blow out the whole grid in the US and Canada. The Russian spy vessel that was tracking it has negated it from ever being used again. Now, the next part you won't have heard before, many of you. And people are wondering why I'm focusing on the Nazis. Because they're not the only clowns that are running around thinking that they own this planet and the people and the resources and the land. But they're the most dangerous for this particular reason. There exists a parallel timeline that operates alongside of our reality currently. Now, on that timeline is where the Nazis gained total world domination and control. And what they're trying to do is merge the two parallel universes, or the timelines, into one, to merge into what is our reality. And this is set to be completed by 2023 for their full operations of the merging, or so they think, portions of it. Now, portions of that existing world bled through into our reality in the past couple of weeks. In the middle of Australia, a Nazi base appeared out of thin air and lasted for 5 minutes and then disappeared, phased in, and it phased out. Now this next portion will shock most of you because it's something many of you may have followed, but this has come from fairly well scholared and very high level, and I mean high level. The goal thereafter on this planet to make the timelines merge into one, or the parallel universes merge into one, is to increase the Schumann resonance. Yep, that's not what you were led to believe, is it? Bear in mind, Schumann's German. Now, currently it's 7 point something, despite some of the outlandish attempts on the internet saying it's this or that. But the real Schumann resonance is 7.53, or there or thereabouts. To get them to merge the parallel universes, the Schumann resonance has to go up to 8.88, and that will then allow that reality to merge with ours. So I was told this on Tuesday I think, and as I often do, as I spend all of my waking and sleeping hours thinking over certain things. 888. You tip it on its side, and what have you got? The loops. That program is to tip us back into the loops. And this is why these Nazi clowns still won't negotiate. We've tried, as they believe that they have won, or are going to win shortly, when the other timeline or parallel universe merges with this one. Newsflash for them: you won't. It will be checked, but I believe it's already failed, and the loops were cut in 2015. They can't put it back. The zombie virus was another one of their plans. It failed. Now, some more pleasant news, Intel. There's a plan ongoing currently to create 5 million new jobs, not enhance existing, and create new here in the US. I've no doubt it will escalate around the world, and it will involve the rolling out of some very expansive projects in the near future, one of which I've mentioned. Others I'm kind of sworn to secrecy at this time, but I suspect it will please many. Talks are ongoing for electric cars to be introduced by 2020. By 2025, it is suspected that there will be no need for auto insurance. And the reason being, the tech in the cars will prevent accidents taking place. Now the other thing that's being proposed is by that time it is possible that there will be no need for individuals, unless it's for business, to buy and own their own cars. They're wheeling out a plan whereby the cars by that time will be mostly driverless, and you ring up and ask for the car to come to your home, pick you up, it drives you where you need to go, and you get out and leave it, and it goes back to where it needs to go. So there's no possible need in the future to buy or own a car. If those cars are incapable of crashing due to the detection systems available, which have been available a fairly long time but denied to us to keep cabal insurance companies in operation. So that's something to think on. The takedown of the pedos is increasing at a pace. This I can assure you of. Eventually it will reach a crescendo where nobody will be under any illusions. No more conspiracy. Langley. If it was up to me, I'd build a wall around them rather than across Mexico. Langley 1, which is the original CIA, which houses most of what we would class as the good guys, have now taken upon themselves to completely freeze out Langley 2 and Langley 3. These are the rogue mirror groups. Langley 1 is not playing ball anymore with those people. And they threatened if they act in any manner against the United States of America, even in acts of financial terrorism, they will be considered enemy of state and treated as such. The line is well drawn into the sand. Mainstream media is under far more attack than you realise. Some of you have seen some of the comments by Mr. Trump. It's more extensive than that. Mainstream media is now classed and considered as such an enemy of the state. All of them. As of last Thursday, and they will be arrested for treason or worse if they ever act on behalf of others. I would expect to see a major shake-up of all those organisations. CNN's going down. Make no mistake about that. They're going down. Langley 1 has told everyone they have declared war against the globalists, the transnational corporations, the cabal. And they've also told them they can stick their TRN, Treasury Reserve Note, of the world, not of America, along with the dinars where the sun don't shine. They're not interested in TRNs and bogus dinar RVs, period. They and President Donald Trump have firmly stated they are now with us. We, the people. Langley 2 is contemplating at this moment whether they want to join with we the people or stick with the Bush and Rothschild syndicate. The Pentagon was not allowed in the meetings this week, as the ones who showed up last time were behind Langley 2 and the TRN. It's unclear at this point the percentage of those in the Pentagon who are with us or against us. There are meetings that are ongoing this week, and we will get more details maybe for next week's show. All a bit like the Blacklist, isn't it? FBI, CIA fighting with each other, calling out the cabal, pulling people out of executive positions, cabinet leaders, like the script. Now, the people who are connected with this show and the foundation funds, the trust account people, this week we're trying to fund the American government. Refund. Rothschild stole all the funds in November, and there was an attempt to block us from funding, and all other countries connected to the Fed. In the process, they screwed up and basically shut down the whole global financial network for a time. Being the clowns that they are, they then struggled to bring it back up. Thankfully, our people put it back. But we almost saw a total crash of all transfers in America and in another 140 nations. What they were trying to do, and it would come as no surprise, is they were trying to implement a new system. They keep trying these new systems and it keeps failing. To do with fake assets based, be it Wells Fargo, yes, it's them again, who are continuing to try and act as the new Federal Reserve. It won't work. And with their stupidity, they almost blew up the whole country financially this week. China, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, United Arab Emirates this week have all asked for help to clear out the factions. I expect that country list will have increased since I got it. That was last Friday. Every country is now sick of these people and beings. It's not just people, not just humans. And people are getting tired of it. Here's something that will please many. The Russians are kicking ass big time. Syria, blocking nuclear weapons. You know why? Because Mr. Putin has switched sides. Finally. He went down a wrong path for the last 12-18 months. A bad, wrong path. He's been reminded what he has to do or face the consequences. And so now he is helping us in a lot of fields globally. There's an agreement between him and Donald Trump to clean house and fix the global financial system using the trust account people attached to this show. On we go. There's more. The high-level meetings this week has cleared a lot of the fog. The picture of who is with humanity or not now is a lot more definitive. And many alliances have been made again. And now our platform of operation increases by the hour, not by the day or the week, by the hour. Some off-world news. The UPU is now working on solving some of the issues surrounding the Nazi clowns, and there's negotiations that are ongoing with a group known as the Tall Whites. These look like humans, but they're not. We have a treaty and it will be enforced. But they have to first try to talk to that group and negotiate. And it's some of this particular group, the Tall Whites, that have been working with the Nazis 70, 80 years minimum, long before Roswell. So there is a court ongoing. It started early this morning, our time, and it has begun with the two groups who have been cooperating with the Nazi faction. Neither of them are human. Tall Whites and a white dragon looking beings. It's unknown who those beings are. I suspect it is the Royal Hydra Draconis group. Not Draco, different. They have said there's an agreement between those groups and some people who think they can sign away our resources. And the agreement is relating to a splitting up of resources, i.e. our resources, not theirs. But that agreement was signed and came after the peace treaty and the implementation of representation of humans on the council. So in other words, it's invalid. So now they have no right to sign on behalf of humanity, let alone on behalf of Earth. Some of the things you're going to find out in the future, some of you may know, how much you believe in it is down to the individual. But I can assure you, most have no idea of the depth of how much is being traded here on this planet. No idea. It's frightening levels of trade that goes far beyond bits of metal out of the ground, or gas, or water. Worst aspect is the people. Groups like Swiss Indo, human traffickers into outer space. These were the clowns along with OPPT, trying to trade us all off under the guise that they were taking everything off the cabal and giving it back to the people. Liars. Another false saviour. There's a reason why this planet and its people, human people, are so important. Our water is different from everywhere else. Living water. And humans are considered the elixir of life in this universe. They seem to think they can consume us. And you know what? All that shit will be stopping soon. All of it. The days of ugly looking creatures coming to this planet, including humanoids who think that we're there just for their benefit, whether it's for war, labour or food, will stop. And there will be consequences. This was going to be the final piece before I play some music, and then we go into some questions. This is a message to all the factions, bloodlines, families, royalty, military industrial complex. All of you have been used as pawns in the game, the same as everyone else, including the ones with your phony badges of honour on your shoulders because you killed people. Some badge of honour that. And good luck, by the way, in your next life journey. Just because you have badges and bogus titles like general doesn't mean you're exclusive. I will remind you, as I know some of you listen, the draft that was put out by the cabal recently. What does it say? That's right. It called you what you really are. A slave. Is that right, Mr. Kissinger? He told you all back in 1967 what you were. Well, there you have it. Right in your face. So your phony badges and titles mean nothing now, do they? All of you, your time is up. You have failed in your control game. You have failed to contain the usurpers known as the Rothschilds. They're not even royalty or bloodline. In fact, that particular hook-nosed family have eliminated a lot of you and your wealth, and yet you still continue to bow down to their insane whims. What a bunch of shitbags you are. The lorry is. Stand up for the first time in your life and represent a good cause, like many of the bloodlines and the families and the royalty are now doing. Yes, I'm aware. Represent a good cause before you bow out of your earthly existence. Your projects and your prophecies have all failed and will continue to do so. Recognise it and stand down. The reality is your insanity games will not continue much later. We the people have risen from our slumber, despite everything you've thrown at us. And we won't back down until the filth is erased from our planet once and for all. TikTok. The public is uprising, and you will be wanted, dead or alive. These songs will reflect this. Hi all, welcome back to the final portion of tonight's show. Uprising and Dead or Alive. Yep. There was a lot of intel there tonight, and we must give due credit to a lot of people around the world who are doing their utmost to make this a better place for us all. But you've all played your role in it. Everyone that listened has played the role, because you've stepped out of the hive-minded, synthetic, holographic world that they exist in. You took the difficult path before being classed as nuts, discarded, lost friends, family, loved ones. So we've made the difficult choice, and that adds to the collective to give the courage for others to step forward. Now, the first question is not the first question that was asked, but I'm going to cover it as the first question because it plays into this. And the question is, you stated that a platform has to be established before Trump can be most effective in a change in America. You also stated that certain Trump appointments initially were made only temporary and will be changed in the near future. What is a platform and why the musical chairs with appointments? Please explain the rationale for this, and have presidents done this in the past? No, they haven't done it in the past. They were too ensconced into the system. So this is a sign of change, Henry. You mentioned you're seeing on recently on the post on the page. It's all around you if you choose to look. Now, a platform, maybe this is an English terminology, because there was another member who was kind of struggling with that. A platform is a foundation or a base or a stage with which to perform. Now, too many think that the president is the most important cog in the wheel of the political side of the country. He never was. Certainly not since 1871. It's all about the secrecy groups that operate above. Those groups have to be dragged down and on board with the president for him to have a platform with which to operate from on behalf of the people. This is what's taken place. The platform is now built and the changes will be made. You can't just expect one man, be it Trump or Obama, to change everything. They can't. What you have to change is the control system, the shadow government, the military-industrial complex, etc., etc., that hides in the shadows, the string pullers. The ones you see in public are just the puppets. This is the way this planet is operated. Many other countries had proper governments, but Langley decided they wanted their own people in, and so ousted many of countries' governments. I think it was 61 or 81 governments that the Langley has interfered with and changed. It's about 40% of the countries. Why can they do that? Because they have the power behind them to do so. Obama didn't have that power. Whether he's good, bad or indifferent is kind of irrelevant. Either way, he never had a platform with which to operate from. So, your second part of your question I've already answered, but I'll repeat again for the benefits of this show. Temporary appointments were made because the platform wasn't built. There was still a number of factions that were messing in the arena. So the decision was taken to appease some of those factions at that time when the appointment was made, whilst the work behind the scenes to build the platform to then provide Trump and his choice of appointments to then be put in place. As the stage or the platform has been built, certain ones have been removed. There's no need to appease certain factions or groups that were aligned with those appointments. That is why that appointment a couple of weeks ago was removed. Mr. Flynn. He may not be the last one. The bigger the platform goes and the stronger it gets, the less need for faction involvement in our government, the people's government, will be required. This is what's taken place, and if you can't see it now, I don't think you'll ever see it. Extraordinary change has taken place. You've got a person as president who's taken on the media right in front of your face. Is that not a change? Yes, you may not have access to the behind the scenes news that gets reported on this show, but the mainstream media has been declared an enemy of state. Period. All of them. Is that not a change? The executive order Mr. Trump did 2 weeks ago, going after transnational corporations. The only people that own transnational corporations are cabal. Is that not a change? The Pope coming out and stating what I stated in the first hour. Is that not a change? height of hypocrisy if it's not. The Rothschilds being thrown out of the UK permanently. The Rothschilds thrown out of Africa permanently. They'll be thrown out of Australia and New Zealand shortly also. They've been thrown out of Russia. They've had their asses kicked in Asia. So much so now that the Asian faction is now fighting with the Rothschilds over who is to blame for them not gaining world control. You know why? Because we decided we'd had enough. Each and every one listening to this show had decided we've had enough of your games. That's all it takes. Manifestation of things now is increasing. Remember the proposal put to the Queen of England I did on this show a couple of weeks ago? Did you see the post about the Queen and the Commonwealth? Less than a month. This is what's happening now. With the AI out of the way and the construct down and a lot of their fancy tech, many of you, or all of you, living souls are now in direct contact with Source. Use it wisely. Like I said last week, be careful what you ask for and the volume you ask for. California is paying for excess manifestation at the moment, believe it or not. Too many asked for the rain. It all came back, and basically everything they'd lost in the drought came back in one go. So we have to be careful. So I hope that answers the question. I didn't mean to be pertinent against Henry, but I need to reaffirm how much is actually changing, and it's all there in the public. Yes, there's other elements that are happening behind the scenes and will continue to do so. But a lot of the stuff in the mainstream media was once the realms of conspiracy. Pizzagate. It's on the mainstream news. That would have been 12 months ago. That was conspiracy, was it not? No one believes that. Well, there it is. Seek and you shall find. This letter was an email came a couple of weeks ago from someone from the UK, and someone annually deposits a small amount into a savings account in this person's name to tell me that she's unable to deposit it now because the account has been closed. I had not, or have not, closed it. I then realised I'd not received a December 2016 statement. The account had just over £1,000, which is roughly ballpark around $1,200. Have you heard of the cabal stealing from Lloyds Bank in the UK? If so, what can one do? What about NatWest? Have they got to them yet? Well, for those who have been listening over a long period of time, I told you all about the banks in the UK and the thieving out of it, and to put it into community banks, or building societies as you call it over there. Lloyds, NatWest, Barclays, HSBC, Santander, Royal Bank of Scotland, all rogue banks, all of them. Take every single penny out of them and put it into a building society account. If everyone did it in the UK, what happens to those banks? Oops. So when people say we can't do nothing, there's an example. It's just a bit of laziness that you have to go down and take it out and go and set up another account. But leaving your hard-earned labour value in banks that just strip you is a bit stupid on our part, myself included. I hope that answers your question. They've been stealing out of many accounts, and it's been going on a long time. Drake was telling you 2 or 3 years ago, get your money out of banks. Final call, get it out. They set a rule in January of 2015 where in an emergency financial crisis, all funds in the bank belongs to them, the UK and America. So they then, what's stopping them declaring a financial crisis? Then they shut the bank, and then under the emergency, claim every single cent or penny out of your account to keep them afloat. And yet we continue to put our funds in there. Please think about it. January the 1st, that particular rule came in, 2015. All funds belongs to the bank. And you can forget the insurance agencies, because they're bankrupt as well. FDIC, and I can't remember the UK one. Bankrupt. Is Mike Adams of naturalnews.com another purveyor of fear porn? He talks about a cosmic false flag, the dangerous Fukushima situation, California's collapsing dam. There's some truth to most things, but he rarely sensationalises current or political events. Well, there's many sites guilty of that. Many of them are just doing it for the sake of hits to their pages, which generates advertising revenue. As I understand it, and I can't verify it fully, but Mr. Adams is involved in the Scientology group and is not particularly good. Other people have far more knowledge than I on that, but Mr. Adams is part of the Scientology group. Now, one of the things that I found extraordinary is on that particular, there was a particular item about the Natural News site going down and the Alex Jones, and one line, as always, a bit like Fulford's articles, popped out. Alex Jones site made the statement, we've lost $3 million in advertising revenue. $3 million. How much is he putting that back into the people? Rest assured, if this particular show was earning $3 million, 2.9 plus of it would be going towards helping other people. I don't hear of Mr. Jones helping anything about himself. $3 million in advertising revenue. What does that tell you about Mr. Jones and who he's involved with? Doesn't need me to tell you. Can you give us an update on Standing Rock and the other pipelines? I thought this crap was supposed to be over. Can this be allowed to go forward to imperil close to 50 million people's water in the Missouri and the Mississippi basins, as well as irrigation water for a third of the US agricultural land, as well as a number of major aquifers? How can this be allowed, Trump or no Trump? Well, I've stated it many times now. There is no further updates. As it stands, nothing's changed. If that particular company can self-fund, which I am led to believe is unlikely, then it will go ahead. But the native people who are running negotiations have not helped that situation. They shut out the people who blocked the pipeline originally, who convinced the army people to kick the can down the road so certain things could be put in place to prevent it. They decided they could go alone. We warned of this in this show months ago. I got a bit of a flack over it, said I was being disrespectful. No, I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. There is clans in the tribal groups operating for and on behalf of the cabal. There is clans in the tribal groups operating before and on behalf of themselves. Chiefs earning vast amounts of money on drugs, trafficking. That's not the way of the tribal people, not the way that we know or have been told. And it's up to the tribal people to oust those idiots out of your group so you can go forward. Not everything's other people's fault. Thomas, it seems as though the asleep population greatly outnumbers those who are aware and concerned. I understand that we as a collective must face this truth. Is there any parameters to protect non-violent humans from the zombies that I don't think will react well going forward? On what level will we need to protect those who cannot defend themselves? Well, yes, we are few. There was a kind of a gasping shock when I said it could be only 10 to 12% who are living souls in here, and the rest are a mixture of clones, hybrids, synthetics, or part of the holograph. The zombie virus that they've tried to push forward has failed. It won't work. People could argue it doesn't mean because there's going to be no flesh-eating ones. In essence, the zombies are already here. They live in a world where they think everything's normal. We live in a world where we realise it's not. And you can't go back. You can't unlearn. You can't step out of the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole never ends. Just when you think you think you've covered everything, there's always another layer that goes deeper, and the picture gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The way we can protect is don't interact. People arguing on the Facebook page, not our Facebook page, but others. I'm trying to get through to them. I said 3 months ago, 2 months ago, don't interact anymore. There's no point. Those people are not going to change. We can't help them anymore, as much as we would like to. We can't. They're too far gone. Or that's their choice. We can't make their choice for them, no more than we want them to make the choice for us. We choose to want a better life, with a nicer and fairer, caring and sharing planet, not dog eat dog. Those days are coming to an end. It's up to every individual if you wish to continue to try and break down the barriers of the people who are asleep. I can't tell you not to do it. I can only advise, but I think it's a waste of energy now. They're either going to get shaken out with a hefty thump that many of them may not survive anyway, mentally. Some may not survive physically, because the shock to the system is going to be too great. Truth can be enlightening, but it's also very painful. How are you going to, even you cover 8 months, 9 months of THI shows, how are they going to absorb that in 1 week or 1 month? They're not. They're just not. This is why the stair-step disclosure should continue in that way. In essence, it is anyway, whether I want it to be different or not, or you want it to be different. It's happening. None of us would know about, or very few of us would know about ETs if it hasn't been disclosed on the internet. It's already been disclosed. It's about you waiting for you yourself to accept it. But many still wait for somebody else to announce it. Why would you do that? That's your experience. Why should you need to get a confirm from somebody else for something that you already know? So, no, they won't react well going forward. And part of what this show's been about is preparing you all for when the full-on shit hits the fan. It's whirling rather fast already. Because you, all of you, will become the leaders. And it's up to you all to go out and try and guide the people through their trauma, which will be far more extensive than the trauma you've gone through. Because not only are these people going to go through the fact that they've been fooled all their lives on everything. These are the same people that have dismissed us all as nuts. There's going to be a lot of guilt. So, I hope that answered your question. Two questions on this. Remember, I've wrapped it into one. Is there something going on with the planet Venus? It's huge in the sky in recent months. Is there a lot more to this planet than has been disclosed? Yes. Venus was habitable in the past and was nearer where we are in the solar system away from the sun than it is now. And somebody decided to play shootout pool with the planets a long time ago. Some disappeared into pockets now called asteroid belts. But I have noticed it's bigger. Chloe and I were out a few weeks back with binoculars because it does look an awful lot brighter. Maybe it's moved closer, maybe it's because certain things are not blocking it anymore. Could be various reasons, but yes, there's something different going on. Is the radiation from Fukushima exaggerated to create fear? Yes. I'll remind people, in 9 days' time, it's 6 years ago. 6. And you've got clowns on the internet telling you, the people of the West Coast, that it's just about now drifting over the Pacific on the breeze. I mean, you believe that? Or it's just drifting on the tide after 6 years? Go and have a look at a water cycle for a year, how it spins around the planet, and then come back and tell me it's just arriving after 6 years. And also tell me that there hasn't been a single nation, be it Japan or others, who after 6 years haven't fixed it. Where's all the massive construction to block it off? Chernobyl was flooded with concrete, so no more gets out. Have we seen any of that in Fukushima? Or the Japanese governments just abandoning the people and the rest of the world? And would the rest of the world sit by and allow them to do that? I mean, come on, think about it. The radiation is from something else. Some of the bases underwater, non-human, had nuclear elements. Oops. Recently you saw where Anna von Reitzer put out an article that Neil Keenan was alive and well. Jolly good. He seems to be promoting healing machines. Do you know anything about this? Vaguely. Mr. Keenan's gone awful quiet since last May, hasn't he? The healing machines, here's what I know. Those machines are about 30 to 40 years out of date. Will they work? Debatable. Will it be the world shattering event? No. These machines have been around 30 to 40 years. Why aren't they out already? Now, as I understand it, we're rather close to having a tech machine arriving here that will change the parameters for the sick. Don't ask me any more on that. I will have it when it becomes more available. As our frequency increases, will that change our molecular structure? Yes, it does. Frequencies change everything. Sound, light, cells, illness. Like I said earlier, an illness is a frequency. If you run the same frequency alongside it, a bit like they've done with this planet, where we had an organic frequency wave and they overlaid it with a hologram. With disease, you can run the same frequency. The key is finding out the frequency of the illness and replicate it, run it alongside it, and that illness vanishes. It's a bit like the technology for the Bose headphones, cancelling the background noise. They've worked out the frequency of the background noise and they apply that frequency and the background noise vanishes. So yes, our molecular structure is changing, not will, is. Different theories about the moment the soul enters the body in the womb. Some sources claim it enters at birth, some claim the souls come and leaves during pregnancy. What is my insight on this? As I understand it, take it for what it is. I may get further confirmation for the later show or the next show. Is the soul enters at the point of delivery. Bearing in mind, it's not until the 5th month of pregnancy that the fetus becomes human form. So at the point of delivery, the soul enters. This is around the time when the waters break. Who breaks the waters? I will get a more detailed definition. I'm not 100% on it, but I think it's that's the right answer. What is a soulmate and the difference of twin flames? Some people say I live with my soulmate and have more soulmates, more than one. Sorry, it's written in broken English, but I think I've got the gist of that. A lot of this has been distorted by the New Age bullshittery group. Some souls are part of a soul group that may originate here and may not. It may originate somewhere else in the galaxy, it may originate somewhere else in the universe, and it may originate from a different universe. Now, some souls stay together over many, many eons. Many of these will be known as the creational beings. Some of them are trapped in here currently, not for much longer, but this is where the real terminology is. Many of us saying I've found my soulmate, and then 12 months later he or she vanishes. Too much angst. because they put too much into that being the only one. There's people in here who are waiting to go home to their soulmates and family. We came here to do a job, to fix what's going on this planet. The chances of finding a soulmate here is limited given how many are in here. It's not just to say that it should be discounted, but I think the term has been too profligate in the community, too easily used. Twin flames is a different thing altogether. They're kind of combined souls, and is even rarer than the soulmate. The real term of it, not the new age stuff. So I hope that helps you. We're the TRAPPIST-1 planets just discovered, or is NASA sitting on this information for a long time? They knew it before NASA started. Why do you think many of the names in the Bible are the same names as the stars? Because they're not telling you our history, they're telling you somebody else's. We never ventured out into the stars because we've been prevented or we've been stupid. So where do those names come from? Clearly it came from outside, like all the calendars. How could we have known the star cycles when we've been wiped out continuously every 13,000 years? So it came from outside. But if you remember, I did say a throwaway comment in November. Watch out for NASA announcing we may have found habitable planets. It's predictable. This is part of, oops, look what we found. Except they found it a long time ago. They know what's there. They know who lives where. But it's part of their very, very slow drip-fed disclosure. That dripping is about to get very much quicker. What's the difference between unity consciousness and a hive mind? Intent. Both in essence can apply the same. It's all about intent. There's a difference between those stuck in the system and those who have decided to step out of the matrix. When they apply their psi fields together, that becomes unity consciousness. The ones still in the system, the hive mind, the sleepers, just follow the program. One's a program, one's a living soul effort. I would like to get an answer from the last show about the pineal gland. It may be a chip for the reptilian Draco. That is a possibility. I'm looking into more details on that. The fact that the body rejects it says a lot. It calcifies it. Why does the body reject it? Why, on a similar level, are those with the highest level of reptilian blood, do those mothers need injections to give birth because the body itself rejects the child? Something to think of. What exactly are ghosts? They are former physical beings that either became extinct or got trapped in the etheric. Well, I hope that helps. It may help some, it may not help others. Depends where you stand on that. Those who have been trapped in the etheric face a very dark existence, as they're trapped from going into the astral and are basically in hen coops. Harsh, but that's the reality of being trapped in the etheric, unless something or someone can elevate them out of it using their own consciousness and guide them back to the path or evolutionary cycle where they should be. Recent claims of Russian officials keep dying suspiciously. Can you report on this? Yes, there's been about 5. It's all part of faction games. Whose side is who on and all that. I haven't been able to ascertain as yet. Too many other things to cover, as you can see by the depth of the intel report today. Bosnian pyramids. Not much. I can't tell you much more than what's already been stated on the videos, and the guy who's spent the last number of years. I think he will be able to give a far better answer on them than I will. Tell you more about the Bukegi Mountains. It's not far from there, and it's the holographic library, but not the Bosnian pyramids. Are the chakras Kundalini and Pineal part of the archonic ways of stealing your energy? Yes. This was covered in the Sunday show. They all block the solar plexus, trap you at the heart. They then bombard you with frequencies, which then hampers the crown. Nothing comes down, nothing goes up, no heart connection. There's a part of a book I'm reading currently that's a spin-off to the Levashov. It's the wife of Nikolai Levashov, and she's done the travelling to the different planes, earth planes. I've been to some of them myself, and so I know exactly what she's talking about and the same descriptions. And she met a being that put a crystal into her forehead for protection. And further on down the line, she met this person again, and she said, "Why didn't you use the crystal when you came under attack?" She said, "Oh, I forgot. But what I can't understand is you put it in my forehead but it's now at my heart. How did you do that? She said, I didn't put it in your heart. You did, because that is where you operate from. You operate from the heart, not from the mind, which can be controlled. Then everything changes. Your soul growth increases rapidly. So don't go on your gut instincts. The gut is the trap. You go on your heart instincts. Always. What feels good for your heart, not the head or the gut. That's word magic again. Go with your gut. So automatically the brain sends a signal to the gut where it's trapped. Basically the trap cut you off at the solar plexus. So then you can't operate from the heart. Then you become selfish. Service to self rather than service to others. Once all the chakras have opened, the only way you can operate is from the heart, and pure of heart as well. They're the people that, or the very few, that reach the fourth mental plane on the earth evolutionary cycle. Pure of heart. Where are we next? Are you able to elaborate about any of the Rothschilds? I think I've elaborated enough about that. What they did regarding the global accounts. Well, it wasn't just them. There was a load of them service to self people who seem to think that they own everything, when in reality they own jack shit. Basically there was a number of trust accounts that was set up for future generations to have like a bounty for humanity, where humanity would be elevated and everyone will be provided for. That's what the original trust accounts were about. Except certain clowns got into positions where they became signatories, and one by one they took it over. So then they're using the people's money. The collateral accounts doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to all of us. Now what's took place over the last 12 years is those signatories have been removed and replaced with people, guardians of the account, for the benefit of the people when the clowns are removed. These people have been using and dipping into those accounts, throwing it on high level financial platforms with ridiculously high yields, which is not available to the public, making the money and then putting the money back. Then some decided, well, why should I put it back? And more was taken out of it to fund their globalist expansion. Well, from 2005 the ability to freely dip into the accounts started to stop. And this is why in 2008 the economies crashed. They couldn't put in more in the Ponzi scheme. For those of you who don't understand the Ponzi scheme, it starts with an upside down pyramid where customer A comes in and spends $100 on something. the controller of the pyramid takes the $100 out and puts it in his pocket. The next two customers, B and C, put $100 in it. B pays A back and C pays B back, and the controller of the scheme still has the 100, and so on, and keeps going. Then it comes to the next layer. The controller decides to take another 100 out, so now you've got two accounts short, but the two accounts behind pays that shortage, and it keeps expanding on massive levels. And that's how Ponzi schemes work. Of course, some of them are no longer working, which is why the economy has never recovered for the last 9 years now. Where are we? Are there really human secret space program groups that can travel into space, and are any of them helping the alliance of good guys connected to your show? We've had human secret space programs over a long period of time, longer than people realise. The Nazi breakaway groups. There's been previous human civilizations that have got off and come back here and think humanity is a pile of shit that they can be used. They have a complete disregard for humanity on this planet. None of those secret space programs are good for we the people. None of them. They're all service to self, whether it's the SSP or the military industrial complex, who have also got access to those type of craft. These people are not working for us, never have done. And the people who work for them, going on these Mars missions, they're not going for the benefits of humanity. They're going to work for the rogue elements that have trampled all over humanity on this planet. Harsh as that may sound, that's the reality. It's all there. SS, small p. Not secret space program. Nazi program. Corey Good said in his last interview with Mr. Wilcock, quote unquote, I work with MIC SSP, Military Industrial Complex, SSP. How much more evidence do people need? Is the Soros Group, Hitler's clone, and Barack Obama going to do a coup of Trump and reinstall themselves as rulers of DC? They may try. Won't work. Will the Vatican surrender the ancient books, text and data they're hoarding about humanity's origin, or will they just destroy it? If they haven't done so already, can they be forced to give it up? The Vatican have spent lifetimes destroying books. One of the greatest crimes on this planet. People without knowledge make bad choices in life. Humanity has made bad choices because we have no knowledge. Now everyone knows about the Alexandra, but what about the Khafra library they burnt in the 1500s? But as I understand, there is ancient scriptures and ancient books hidden away that they will never get their filthy hands on. Period. And we will get to find out who and what we are. who and what has been meddling here, who and what religion is, why it operates, whether they like it or they don't. After we leave our vessel, what is the best method to escape the false light? Your soul will be guided. It doesn't need a 3D conscious choice. The idea of the souls being trapped like it was in the loop, the souls will now be able to go where their evolutionary level is meant to be. Do demon possessions and exorcisms really exist? Yes, far more than you realise, and to far more people than people really understand. Every potential, and I don't mean this to shock people, I'm saying it as a warning, as we keep telling people about grounding and shielding, centering. There's reasons for that. The demons are flying everywhere at the moment because they're getting their asses kicked. The dark purveyors of soul consumption is reaching desperate proportions. When anything gets cornered and desperate, they do desperate things. And now, more than any, we have to protect ourselves. Some of you can see auras. That's the PSI field around you. If you've had an injury, fell, broke a leg, broke an ankle, broke a wrist, they are portals or weaknesses in the PSI field that can be accessed by the predator souls. This is why we keep telling you to shield up, clear yourself out, push it out. Hope that answers your question. Did you know that the Oxford Dictionary word of the year is post-truth? Yes, it is. And next year, hopefully, it'll be bullshittery. That'll be a laugh, won't it? Kind of flagging now. I'll answer the first one. I know Ella's put a lot of questions in here in one go. What were the 5 Anunnaki races? Well, the Draco are not one of them. They were the Anunnaki, not the Nanunnaki group. A lot of confusion over that. There was one avian group, Thoth, where the term thought came from, one insectoid race, one reptilian, not Draco, and 2 humanoid types. Where the Atlantean was part of the Anunnaki, many races were on that craft, not the island, craft. Ant lands, not at lands, ant lands, that tells you. Insectoid, aka bug-eyed bastards, mantids. Told you they're the clever ones with the tech. And even when you look on this planet at the insects, they have a royal system. You notice it's always the female. That's the important one. The winged royals or the top of the tree of the Draco. The more white than green. So hope that answers your question. In what way are the Irish and Scottish connected to Atlantis? It's a possibility that they are, not a probability. Be it the Tuatha De Danann and the High Brazil group, which may be remnants of the species that were on that, but not necessarily directly. Are the Basques genetically related to the Irish and Scottish? Yes, and they were the Pharaoh groups. Is the Egyptian civilization derived from the Atlantic area? No. More to do with the Irish and some of the off-world groups were before it. Right, I think I've covered most now. Gone on a bit longer than I wanted to tonight. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. It was quite a bit in it, and lots of things are going our way currently. I expect that to continue, and we're part of what is exciting times. There's more just around the corner. Let us not all if you lead life in love and care, you will prevail. If you lead life in fear and anger, you will fail. Feel free for you to be the person you wish to be, not the person who conforms to what others want them to be. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be stifled. You are not here to be enslaved. You are not here to be abused or to compete with your friends, family or neighbours. You are here to be the best you can be, and do so as the crown of creation. Now go out with the confidence of who and what you are, and excel in yourself, and in doing so inspire others. Tonight's show was dedicated to the memory of a rather special member of THI who sadly died this week. Our thoughts are with Kathy and all Rodney's family and friends. I hope we at THI did it justice for them. Like I said, words don't mean a lot, but it's the feeling that counts. I'm pleased to show that all our members have showed that in bundles. Well, despite all the fun and games that's been thrown at us, Rodney will know the work has been done and the improvements that have been made, and the progress is moving at an extraordinary pace. And despite all what they threw at us, but all still standing. My name is Thomas Williams. Bye for now.